Hey, everybody, welcome back to Breakfast All Day. It's Christy, it's Alonso. We're back in the Matrix for the fourth time. The Matrix Resurrections opens today in theaters and on HBO Max, and Christy is going to explain it to us.
It's entirely possible that we never left the Matrix.
Also true.
Do you know for sure that you're not in the Matrix?
There was a whole documentary about that this year, which I still haven't seen.
What's it called?
A Glitch in the Matrix. It's about people who genuinely believe that we are all living in a virtual reality.
I mean, for the leather dusters alone, I would do it. For the dominatrix gear, do they make it in petite?
The food is better. We know this.
Okay, so this is a Matrix movie that knows it's a Matrix movie and knows that it is part of a franchise. There is all kind of meta, self-referential, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, cutesiness going on here.
Skynet has grown self-aware.
I mean, yeah, there's no fourth wall breaking per se. Like they don't physically look in the camera and like talk to you, but it's everything but that, like going up to the edge of that. And if you like that kind of thing, you may really enjoy yourself. I ordinarily do enjoy that kind of thing. Like I enjoy Deadpool for how self-aware it is, but here I just felt like, I just groaned the whole way through. So it is many years since the previous Matrix stuff, right?
When was 18 years?
18 years since the third Matrix movie. And now we are living in what looks like a normal reality in which Keanu Reeves plays Thomas Anderson, but he is a video game designer. He's like this legendary video game designer who has used his experiences in the Matrix as the basis for a series of video games. And
well, but in the world that he's making video games in, they don't know that the Matrix is a real thing. They just think of him as this visionary who created a game called the Matrix.
And he, I think, in the beginning at least, isn't clear as to what he actually experienced and what is his imagination. Because he's been going to see a therapist played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is trying to help him work through this and differentiate blue pills. Of all the colors in all the world, he gets blue pills. And so my child is back with my dog. I'm like, what is that? What's that noise? So he doesn't know what's real and what's not. But then someone comes to him with some knowledge that like jogs his memory. It's Jessica Henwick playing a character named Bugs. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen shows up as a version of Morpheus. But again, he's like cosplaying Morpheus. He knows he's not really Morpheus. He knows there used to be another one. So it's all very like cutesy and like what's real and what's not. Meanwhile, Thomas Anderson is under this pressure to come up with a new game because, as one character points out, our bosses at Warner Brothers are putting a lot of pressure on us to top what we've done before.
Oh, not just that. Our bosses at Warner Brothers want a fourth Matrix, and if you don't do it, they'll just give it to someone else.
Right.
They say this in the movie.
Lana Wachowski directed this on her own this time without Sister Lily. And it's so funny. So we all saw it at the big IMAX headquarters screening room in Playa Vista. It was packed. I was sitting next to our friend Tim Grierson, and afterward he texted me. He's like, I couldn't hear you groan through your mask at that line, but I could physically feel a groan emanating from you. I was like, it's so adorable. Get it? Because they know that they're part of the Warner Brothers empire.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the best part of this, the only part I actually enjoyed in this, is him reconnecting with Carrie-Anne Moss, who here plays a character named Tiffany.
Yes.
And they meet up at a coffee house and they kind of have this feeling that they know each other, but like they can't quite put a finger on it. And the scenes between the two of them in what is quote unquote the real world of them just like having coffee and getting to know each other. I want 2.5 hours of that. I want that rom-com.
Yeah. You know, like Bibbs wrote the review for The Wrap, and he said, like, the one thing this movie brings to the table is that these characters, their love story has been like this central thing of the series, but this is the first time we ever see them have conversations about anything.
Yeah.
Like they just
normal stuff.
Yeah. They in the other movies, they just look really great together and they're kicking a lot of ass next to each other. But like, who are they and what do they care about each other? This movie actually gives you that real estate. In addition to the kicking of asses, which is, I think, maybe this is not the greatest movie of this franchise, but it's up there. It's, if you come for that stuff, you won't leave dissatisfied. But there is an overwhelming feeling throughout the whole thing that Lana Wachowski would just as soon not ever do one of these again, is tired of hearing about bullet time, is sick of all the stuff that this franchise has turned into. Like they kind of goof on the grosser online aspects of its toxic male fandom, which is kind of funny. But overall, they've been doing other interesting things, either together or separately, the Wachowskis, over the years. As you know, defender of Jupiter Ascending.
You are. I think you like Cloud Atlas too, don't you?
Cloud Atlas is okay. I didn't love it, but I think there's some good ideas in there. I loved Sense8 on Netflix, and Speed Racer made me insane, but I get why people like it, and I get why it's interesting and different.
They take chances.
They do, exactly. So the idea of her sort of trudging back to this thing, because as she comes out and tells you in the movie, if I don't make this movie, they're just going to give it to somebody else.
It's so cynical.
It's depressing, and it comes through in the film, I think, unfortunately. So man, that's where we are now. That's what we're dealing with.
It's joyless. It really is. It goes through the motions of its action sequences. I mean, some of it is kind of clever, but as you say, like what the original Matrix did in 1999 was so revolutionary and so original, that they do kind of like a rehash of that in a half-hearted way here. Like I think nothing could possibly top the novelty of that and how groundbreaking that was from an action choreography perspective and from a filmmaking perspective. And like Lana knows that and is sort of like trudging back to that. It feels
exactly. I mean, like you don't get that kind of lightning twice. The Matrix, you're right, was such a game changer, just philosophically, in terms of the ideas that it was putting forth in this action milieu, like the way that it was, like Hollywood really embracing Hong Kong fight choreography. Like there's a million things that the Matrix did that just kind of blew the lid off. And lid is off, so like that, I don't know what's left to do. That said, she is a skilled craftsperson when it comes to making this kind of movie. And so, I don't think you're going to leave this movie feeling defeated or feeling like you didn't get what you paid for. But I think you also are going to get the feeling like she would just as soon have made something entirely different than this.
So I will say one thing too, we were joking about like, hey, I have to try to describe this. I'm being very vague about it, but like multiple characters are saddled with these gigantic exposition dumps.
True.
Right. There's so much like standing around talking, explaining like the philosophy and like what the Matrix is and what it isn't and what's reality and what's not, that like it's confusing. And at its core, this movie is a rescue mission. At its core, it's like trying to get Carrie-Anne Moss out of the gloopy pod of what, she's all hooked up to all the hoses again. And they have to go and access the place where she's being held. And like, it's a rescue mission. That's all it is, but it takes like 2.5 hours of talking. True. And going back and forth between what is the real world and what's the Matrix. I gotta say, there's one image that I found really offensive, and that is that there's the idea of weaponizing people, and their eyes turn green and they become like zombies that are forced to like do what they're told to do, and a bunch of them become like human like daggers, like human bombs, leaping out of buildings, smashing through windows and going thud, 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 thud. And you hear them hitting the ground in a way that I thought was just totally distasteful.
That's
a
like little
suicide as a thrill.
Yeah, that's a little much, I grant you. I will say, I'll give them credit for this. They do figure out some in-betweens of the Matrix reality and reality. In other words, like how do entities that exist purely as programs in the Matrix, how can they be on the outside? Now we know how. Certain creatures that inhabit the world of the pods and whatnot also now exist in a way they didn't before. So there's at least some effort to add to the overall narrative here and not just rehash it. But you're right, a lot of it is clumsy, and that scene is a little weird.
Also, there's sort of a redundancy with both the Jonathan Groff and Neil Patrick Harris characters because they're doing a lot of the same kind of stuff.
Oh,
there's a lot of
we
like
only get one gay, Christy.
You get one pretty blonde gay, and that's it. No, but I mean, like they're both kind of doing like bitchy, snarky, smug. They both function in a similar way in terms of driving the narrative forward in ways that I don't want to spoil.
Well, they're supposed to be at cross purposes, but in a way that requires so much explanation that by the time they tell you, you're not interested anymore. I like the idea of the two of these guys getting into a smackdown. You know, maybe put them into a Broadway sing off, but but understanding why their characters are allies or enemies or what the juxtaposition points are. I couldn't explain it to you now, frankly.
No. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, always fantastically charismatic, has a great presence. Like I like him in that kind of role, but I wish it weren't him being just doing Morpheus cosplay. I wish they'd given him like an actual separate character to play.
And if you were a Sense8 fan, you will recognize a couple of cast members from that show in the ensemble here. So
and the music is painfully on the nose. The use of White Rabbit is painful.
Well, they're kind of stuck with it now, I think, because they brought it up so often with the Alice in Wonderland stuff. But yeah, nobody else ever needs to play that song when a character is consuming drugs. Like we're done. We're done.
Yeah, I'm saying 4.1.
I don't even remember.
You said 7.1.
I said 7.1. Yeah, because I think it does deliver. You know, as much as this is a sequel that has been forced upon its creator, I do feel like you will leave with the Matrix stuff that you wanted to see. But again, it wrapped up in a sensation of like, why are we doing this? So
our numbers are 5.6. I guess if you're a Matrix completist and you want to see it, it's in theaters, it's on HBO Max, it is out there.
It is indeed. And if you are going to theaters, please be safe and make sure that you are in circumstances where you feel like, the standards are being met, whatever your personal barriers for that kind of thing are. Thanks for watching, you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We got that Hawkeye finale all wrapped up today, which is giving us plenty to talk about. You get videos like this with no commercial interruption. We'll be talking about Ingmar Bergman's Fanny and Alexander as our monthly off the menu pick, which our subscribers chose. So become a subscriber today at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.